to guide us. This is what he had stated in his first address as the President of post-apartheid South Africa during the Assembly of Heads of State and Government of the Organization of African Unity held in Tunis in 1994, and I quote, "Thus, do we give reason to the peoples of the world to say of Africa that she will never know stability and peace, that she will never experience development and growth, that her children will forever be condemned to poverty and dehumanization, and that we shall forever be knocking on somebody's door pleading for a slice of bread?" We know it's a matter of fact that we have it in ourselves as Africans to change all this. We must, in action, assert our will to do so. We must, in action, say that there is no obstacle big enough to stop us from bringing about a new African renaissance. End of quote. This is indeed the spirit that we should all embrace. A can-do spirit to overcome the challenges facing our continent and strive for the realization of what we all dream about, the African Renaissance. This was indeed a major topic of our discussion during the first ministerial retreat, Africa's Agenda 2063, that I was honored to host in Baghdad over the last couple of days, and I wish to once again express my satisfaction with the outcome of the retreat. Excellencies, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, we're meeting against the backdrop of a deteriorating peace and security situation in our continent as a result of what has been unfolding in South Sudan and Central African Republic. The situation in these two sisterly countries has indeed been very alarming, and there is no justification for the continuation of the crisis in both places, even for a day. Unless we find urgent solution, the situation in these two countries will have serious implications for peace and security in the region and indeed the whole continent. The fact that these humanitarian tragedies are unfolding in the two countries at a time when we're talking about African Renaissance must be painful to all of us. Therefore, it's incumbent upon us to help those two African states in restoring peace and stability and addressing their internal challenges. With regard to the situation in South Sudan, I would like to congratulate the government and the opposition for signing the agreements on the cessation of hostilities and the question of detainees. No doubt, the problem cannot be resolved through the barrel of the gun. Therefore, I wish to reiterate our call for both parties to fully implement these two vital documents and continue to cooperate without any preconditions with the IGAD mediation team to address the root causes of the crisis. The current situation in South Sudan is a reflection of the challenges that face a post-conflict state and needs to be handled with a lot of wisdom and magnanimity. We all know that the people of this sisterly African state has paid tremendous sacrifices over the last decades, and the South Sudanese political actors should rise above their individual interests to save the country from falling into the precipice, because South Sudan deserves peace and development. It's imperative that the parties should continue to demonstrate the necessary political leadership and compromise so that the peace process initiated by IGAD and supported by the African Union, the United Nations and all other international partners succeeds. Let me underscore here that the rest of the international community should continue to put its weight behind the regional effort to find a peaceful solution to the situation in South Sudan. I cannot overemphasize the need for unity of purpose among all of us and the international community at large in sending the same message to all the South Sudanese stakeholders so as to achieve the desired result. Of course, this needs to be done in words and deeds. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, The situation in Central African Republic remains a matter of concern, particularly the senseless violence that has taken a heavy toll on the civilian population. Hence, it was crucial to take urgent action to avert the further escalation of the peace and security situation in that country. In this regard, I welcome the adoption of the United Nations Security Council Resolution 2127/2013, which authorized the deployment of the African-led International Support Mission in Central African Republic, MISCA, for a period of 12 months. I also wish to note with satisfaction the transfer of authority from the ECAS Peace Consolidation Mission in Central African Republic, MICOPAX, to MISCA, which took effect on 19 December 2013. We are all aware of the daunting challenges ahead of MISCA in terms of assisting Central African Republic in restoring peace and security and ensuring a successful transition towards a constitutional order in that country. The international community should remain fully committed to support this fragile state in its Herculean task of stabilizing itself and organizing elections to ensure a successful political transition. In this regard, we have been following the latest development in that country, and we welcome the outcome of the ECAS summit that took place in N'Djamena on 9 January 2014. I also wish to note the resignation of the interim president and the prime minister and the election of Her Excellency Ms. Catherine Samba Panza as the new president of the transition. Excellencies, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, with regard to Africa's relation with the International Criminal Court, ICC, the Ministerial Contact Group established pursuant to the decision of the Extraordinary Summit held on 12 October 2013, undertook the necessary consultations with all members of the United Nations Security Council, individually and collectively, to push forward Africa's case. The contact group immediately argued that the cases before the ICC do not solely concern the respected countries alone, but have wider ramifications for peace and security in our continent. The group also made it abundantly clear that the Council has the primary responsibility in the maintenance of international peace and security in accordance with the relevant provisions of the United Nations Charter. Furthermore, in line with the Article 16 of the Rome Statute, the Council has been bestowed with the power to defer cases before the ICC for 12 months or 1 year. Therefore, the group conveyed Africa's request for deferral of the cases. African members of the Council were entrusted to craft a resolution in line with the Assembly decision of 12 October 2013 and table it for discussion at the Council. However, it's regrettable to note that some members of the Council decided to stand on the wrong side of history by rejecting the legitimate request made by Africa. I hope the Assembly will thoroughly deliberate on the implementation of its decision on Africa's relation with the ICC based on the report of the Commission and chart a way forward. The report details the work of the Ministerial Contact Group and Africa's participation in the 12th Assembly of State Parties to the Rome Statute of the ICC. It also includes the outcome of the brainstorming session organized by the Commission on the broad areas of the international criminal justice system, peace, justice and reconciliation, as well as the impact of the ICC in Africa and the recommendations made on ways and means of strengthening African mechanisms to deal with African challenges and problems. The contact group, as you know, was composed of Burundi, Mauritania, Namibia, Senegal, Uganda, of course including Ethiopia and Kenya. and the unity of purpose of the contact group was really impressive. And I was so grateful to be, and also proud to be part of that team, which had one strong voice and made itself clear. And it was a very candid and honest engagement. And I hope that united voice for Africa is the only weapon we have to be heard properly. Excellencies, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, I am pleased to note that Africa's economic prospect remains strong. There is, however, a clear need to sustain the continent's high growth trajectory over the coming years and decades so as to lift millions of our people out of poverty and ensure sustainable development. That's why we need to bring about structural transformation by promoting economic diversification and industrialization with a view to ensuring inclusive growth and creating jobs for the unemployed youth. That's precisely what the strategic plan that was adopted by the 21st session of the Assembly in May 2013 seeks to achieve over the short and medium term, laying the foundation for the transformation of our continent. I think Carlos has already outlined it in an excellent way. And we will certainly have the opportunity to examine the progress made in the implementation of the strategic plan based on the report that the chairperson of the Commission will present to us covering the past 1 year. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see from our agenda, we have quite a number of issues that we are expected to address in the coming 2 days. I therefore count on your support so that we could be able to finalize our work as efficiently and effectively as possible. I conclude my remarks by wishing you a productive and enjoyable stay in Addis. But before I leave, I will introduce some new colleagues who joined our club, new ministers, and I will call them one by one, and they will introduce themselves. So I will start from my neighbor. I hope you will not say this is favoritism. So Somalia, Mr. Abdurrahman. And Mali, please, you can at least say your names and stand up and shout to the crowd. And Mauritania, of course Mauritania has been with us, but this is the first Executive Council meeting. And Ahmed, please. And next, please welcome Comoros. Next, Cape Verde. Cape Verde. Okay, Gambia. The Gambia. And Algeria, I think very popular figure, Mauritania. And Zambia. Thank you. So I wish to welcome you on behalf of my colleagues here, and we wish you all the very best. So thank you so much again, as I join my sister by saying Asante Sana. Amasakinama.